Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Let's grab a couple of sound bites with regard to the debate coming up. This is clip number 1, Rob. Let's just start right there at the top. You have Marsha Blackburn, who is a congressman from Tennessee, Larry Sabato, and Bob Shrum discussing where the president stands in the polls, and there has been conversation about how well Mitt Romney needs to do. Here's what this panel had to say about what Romney needs to do on Wednesday night.
Well, it's critical to Mitt Romney. He really does have to show his stuff there, and he has to change his image. He has the image of a country club Republican. He has to go after President Obama in a coherent way with a real message. But, you know, history tells me, Bob, that generally speaking, the challenger does gain from the first debate. It will be a surprise if he doesn't gain, and he very much needs to. He needs to get some momentum. So based on history, I'd say the odds favor Mitt Romney in the first debate.
So that's Larry Sabato. He's a pretty smart guy. He thinks the odds are kind of line up for Romney's favor. Usually the first debate is going to be of some help to the challenger. But he says, look, basically, Mitt Romney's got some real image problems. He's still perceived as this kind of rich country club guy, and he's got to find some way to soften that image. Now, clip number 2, this is a writer for New York Magazine, and she goes back to 2008 and talks about what happened in the campaign between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and this, is a different perspective on how important these debates are. Let's listen.
Barack Obama is actually not a very good debater. He lost almost every debate that he debated with Hillary Clinton.
What does that mean, though, not a good debater?
If you watched him against Hillary Clinton, that was the worst moment of all.
So that's Heilemann from the New York Magazine. He says, look, Barack Obama lost every debate to Hillary Clinton in 2008, and he still won that primary in a landslide. So his point is, look, debates are not the be-all and the end-all in the political thing. Now, I can think of one debate in the primaries that I think a debate was decisive. That was Newt Gingrich, I think, in South Carolina, or maybe it was Florida. I forget where. But he had that zinger of a debate, and it was just clear when that debate was over, because the voting was just in a matter of several days. It was clear Newt Gingrich was going to walk away with that thing, and you sort of had the impression he was going to take that momentum and take it right to the nomination. Didn't do it. But he won that state based on that one debate. But that's because the election was a matter of days after that debate, where the zingers he got off on that debate were still resonating, still echoing around the room when people went to the polls. That's not going to happen this time around. Now, here, clip 3, this is somebody whose name I didn't recognize, but she was talking about the challenge that Mitt Romney has going into this election. Liz Marlantis, I think is her name, and I thought her assessment here was pretty much right on the money. Let's listen.
Romney's biggest problem in this campaign is that he sounds like he's reciting talking points all the time, and voters don't have a sense of what his moral compass is. They don't have a sense of what he really cares about, what the real Romney is. And so I think if he could just find one issue to have a breakthrough moment where voters feel like he threw the talking points out the window and said, this is what I really care about and this is what I really believe, that would be huge for him.
So Liz Marlantis, I think, articulating there, I think a lot of us, the concern we've had from Governor Romney really from the beginning is what does he stand for? What's his moral core? Is there a moral core? And Liz Marlantis putting her finger on that as the biggest problem that Governor Romney has. He seems to operate off of a script instead of talking from his heart. And so her argument, I think it's a good point, is if he'd begin to talk from his heart, we'd get a sense of what he really, really believes deep down inside. That would be a big thing. In fact, she says it would be huge for him, and I tend to agree. Now, Governor Christie, clip 4, he's very, very optimistic about how Romney is going to do in the debate on Wednesday. Let's listen.
But here's the great news for Republicans. We have a candidate who is going to do extraordinarily well on Wednesday night. The first time he has the opportunity to stand on the same stage with the President of the United States, and the first time a majority of the people who are going to vote in this race will have an opportunity to make that direct comparison and see the two of them. And when they do, I've seen Mitt Romney do this before. He's going to come in Wednesday night. He's going to lay out his vision for America. He's going to contrast what his view is with what the president's record is and the president's view for the future. And this whole race is going to be turned upside down come Thursday morning.
So that's Chris Christie. Mitt Romney's going to hit it out of the park. The race is going to be turned upside down because of the vision for America that Mitt Romney lays out on Wednesday and how it contrasts with the Obama vision. Conservatives can only hope. Now, Chris Christie wasn't done. Here in this next clip, clip 5, he goes right after Barack Obama, hammer and tongs. Let's listen.
Governor Romney believes that with even bigger tax cuts for the wealthy,
and fewer regulations on Wall Street, all of us will prosper. In other words, he doubled down on the same trickle-down policies that led to the crisis in the first place.
If you were on the stage Wednesday night, how would you respond to that?
Stop lying, Mr. President.
Lying?
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
What's the lie there?
Governor Romney's not talking about more tax cuts for the wealthy. In fact, what he said is that the wealthy will pay just as much under a Romney administration as they pay
But
today.
their tax rate will go down into the 20s.
Right, but their tax rate will go down, but they will lose deductions and other loopholes that will have them paying the same. That's what Governor Romney's plan is. And so what I'd say is, I love those ads. I mean, the president gets to say things like 1 million new manufacturing jobs. Well, how, Mr. President? We're still waiting. $4 trillion reduction in the debt. Really, Mr. President? How? Simpson Bowles? You haven't endorsed your own plan, nor has he come forward with a plan. I mean, it's a great ad. I have no doubt about that. It sounds really nice and it looks nice, but there's nothing substantive there.
So Chris Christie's point is, Obama's producing good ads, but they're just flat out lies. Somebody suggested on Wednesday night you ought to have a sort of a lie-o-meter every time Barack Obama perpetuates or fosters or declares a falsehood, have some kind of a gong going off or some kind of an alarm. Now, Pat Caddell, we'll play clip 6 and then we'll go to the phones. Pat Caddell, interesting speech he gave on September 21st at Accuracy in Media's conference, and it was reproduced on Fox News. He's a contributor to Fox News, and he's a Democratic pollster, big time with Clinton, so this guy's on the left side of the political aisle. But the title of his piece is "The Mainstream Media," and I refer to them as the mainstream media, is threatening our country's future. Here's how it begins. I think we're at the most dangerous time in our political history in terms of the balance of power in the role that the media plays in whether or not we maintain a free democracy or not. When I first started in politics, everyone on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, despised the press commonly because they were a pain to everybody, which is, he says, exactly what they should be. They were unrelenting. Whatever the biases were, they were essentially equal opportunity people. And he says that changed in 1980. The press went into the tank to get Dukakis elected over Bush, and from that point forward, they just became ministers of propaganda for liberal left-wing political candidacies. One of the reasons why, we talked about this poll last week. Gallup released a poll that 60% of the American people have very little confidence in the media, either not very much or none at all. 60% of the American people just simply do not trust what's going on in the media. We've seen that happen with CNN. Their viewership completely in the tank. And newspaper circulation dropping like a rock. Now, here's one excerpt from Pat Caddell's speech to Accuracy in Media conference, explaining how the media has become an enemy of the American people. Let's listen.
First of all, we've had 9 days of lies over what happened because they can't dare say it's a terrorist attack. And the press won't push this. Yesterday, there was not a single piece in the New York Times over the question of Libya. 20 American embassies yesterday are under attack. None of that is on the national news. None of it is being pressed in the papers. If a president of either party, I don't care whether it was Jimmy Carter or Bill Clinton or George Bush or Ronald Reagan or George H.W. Bush, had a terrorist incident and gotten on an airplane after saying something and flown off to a fundraiser in Las Vegas, they would have been crucified. It should have been the equivalent for Barack Obama of George Bush's flying over Katrina moment. But nothing was said at all, and nothing will be said. It is one thing to bias the news or have a biased view. It is another thing to specifically decide that you will not tell the American people information they have a right to know.
So that's Pat Caddell, Democrat pollster, landing hard on the mainstream media. Let's grab a couple of phone calls. Let's go to Danny, Tampa, Florida. Danny in Tampa, Florida, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Brian. My favorite evangelical. Haven't talked to you in a while.
Good to have you back on.
No, thank you. Well, first of all, there's a couple of great lines I'd like to go. They're a little humorous. They're both by liberals, but that's what I'm going to say them. Karen McCaskill, I thought was really, really funny when she said that Todd Aiken makes Michelle Bachmann look like a hippie. And I thought that's pretty good. Hey, that's pretty good. I'd be pretty right wing on that one. And then basically the other one was Bob Shrum when he said, it's not that people don't like Romney. It's just that people think Romney doesn't like them, and therefore that's almost a correct quote. It's going to be the day's coming up. Barack Obama is going to be okay. I believe Romney's going to be having has to go on the offensive. I think Obama basically. I know he's not as good as Bill Clinton as a debater, and I know he's not as good as Bobby Kennedy or John Kennedy, and God forbid he's not as good as George McGovern. Made one of the best campaign speeches in 1972 that was saw by nobody at 3 in the morning on the Coming Home America speech from Vietnam when he went against Hubert Humphrey. But anyway, that's off the subject. So basically, that's that. I believe that. Now, did you hear what Bill Kristol said? Where there's a good chance that they said last week that the Republicans could conceivably lose the House.
Yeah, and I think that to me is an exaggeration. I think there's a real question about what's going to happen with the Senate. Chances of the Republicans losing control of the House, that just from an objective standpoint, seems to be pretty slim.
That's going to be a stretch. That's going to be a stretch. But yeah, it's so basically, it comes down to it's going to be from first debate. I mean, basically, it's like a heavyweight bout. You can always analyze it like that. Romney's going to have to throw a Sunday punch at one point or another, and Obama's going to have to sit there and just jab and defend, and he can't be too aggressive because he'll be seen why. Basically, then people say, "Wait a minute, I thought we like this guy." Yeah. I mean, bottom line is, Romney is not as likable as Obama for whatever reason. I mean, Obama has just got he's got the personality, he's better liked. He's a stronger candidate. I believe he's going to win, and if I don't, I'm out $300.
Yeah, so you're putting your money where your mouth is, huh, Danny?
I'm sorry, $100. If I win, I win $300.
I see. All right.
I had it the other way around. I scared myself for a second.
Yeah, so playing the odds there on the presidential election. All right, Danny. Listen, thank you for the call. The problem, Danny's saying, look, Romney needs to throw some punches. He needs to land some punches. He needs to show some force. He needs to show some aggressiveness. I think that's a real question because I think Governor Romney has people in his camp that are telling them, Danny was talking about the fact that Barack Obama's favorables are higher than Mitt Romney's. Mitt Romney just is who he is. I mean, he can't pretend to be somebody else. He's just not going to be a guy that's going to slap you on the back and, chug a beer with you after work. That's just not who Mitt Romney is. It'd be phony if he tried. But his persona in public, it's kind of a liability for him because it comes across a little bit stiff. And Barack Obama's got the ready smile and the big smile and makes the tingle go up Chris Matthews' leg. So his favorabilities are a little bit higher, and he's been told by his handlers, look, don't go after Obama. Everybody likes him. You go after Obama, it'll make you look bad. Focal Point AFR Talk.